Joining us now is Okpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, Jinx.
Full name.
We missed you yesterday.
Really, just one day?
One day without you is like a whole year without you.
Can I tell you, this is my last day on What's Trending, guys.
Why?
I just decided to.
It's April Fool.
He got it.
It's April Fool.
Wow, Rufai, you're too smart. Well, all right, it is April Fool. Good morning, gorgeous.
Gee, we missed you yesterday.
I missed you guys, really.
You really missed you, man. You know, we're family, and it just showed yesterday when you were not here.
Oh, you're so sweet.
He is, isn't he?
Oh, thank you. Well, good morning to you, viewers. Here are some of the stories that are trending across the globe.
In the United States, President Joe Biden marked Transgender Day of Visibility on Thursday by denouncing hateful bills being passed at state level as the White House played host to Jeopardy champion Amy Schneider, the first openly transgender winner on the popular quiz show. Biden, in a brief video message, addressed the onslaught of anti-transgender state laws affecting families.
Today, we're announcing even more steps, but there's always more work to do to end the epidemic of violence against transgender women of color and girls of color, to ensure transgender seniors can age with dignity.
In the United Kingdom, Russian Colonel General Mikhail Mizintsev, dubbed the Butcher of Mariupol, owing to his alleged brutal military tactics in Ukraine, on Thursday, was added to Britain's sanctions list. The general stands accused of ordering the destruction of a maternity hospital and theater where more than 1,000 civilians were sheltering. He also allegedly orchestrated Moscow's bombing campaign in Syria, which largely destroyed the city of Aleppo in 2016. Under sports, FIFA President Gianni Infantino announced on Thursday that he will stand for re-election for a third term as president of FIFA. The 52-year-old Swiss-Italian lawyer was the Secretary General of the European governing body UEFA before becoming FIFA president in 2016 in the wake of the corruption scandal that brought down his predecessor, Sepp Blatter. While the Nigerian Football Federation on Thursday terminated the appointment of the entire technical crew of the Super Eagles, including the team's technical advisor, Augustine Guavon. The termination comes a few days after Nigeria failed to qualify for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. Under entertainment, Oscars producer Will Packer has broken his silence about what happened behind the scenes moments after actor Will Smith slapped comedian Chris Rock on stage for making a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith's hair.
And as they were talking, Chris was being very dismissive of those options. He was like, no, I'm fine. He was like, no. The LAPD officers finished laying out what his options were. And they said, would you like us to take any action? And he said no.
Finally, tributes pour in for French fashion and portrait photographer Patrick Demarchelier, who was best known for balancing elegance and natural ease while capturing some of the most famous people through his lenses. In 1989, Demarchelier became the personal portraitist of Diana, Princess of Wales, and was the first non-Brit to become an official royal photographer. He was 78 years old.
Well, let's begin What's Trending with reactions trailing the statement made by Alhassan Ado Doguwa, a majority leader of the House of Representatives, who on Thursday advocated for Nigerians to be allowed to take up arms to defend themselves against terrorist attacks in the wake of the recent killings in Kaduna State. While speaking during plenary, the All Progressives Congress member from Kano State said that there is a monumental failure in the security architecture in the country, and as a result, Nigerians must be allowed to defend themselves. Let's take a listen before we take some reactions.
I think Nigerians at this moment should be allowed to also take arms. Nigerians must be allowed to take arms in defense of their innocent souls, defend their hard-earned resources and property. Because it's like a monumental failure. If the agencies of security have failed, then Nigerians should not be failed. Nigerians should not be seen as a failure. Let Nigerians organize themselves in the name of civil defense.
Let's take this tweet from Shehu Sani, who wrote, "If the government and security agencies can't crush these terrorists and bandits kidnapping and killing our people in northern Nigeria and southern Kaduna, people should officially be allowed to carry same weapons, and let's see who owns the land." Shall we take another tweet from King, who wrote, "Nigeria as a country is strenuous and difficult. It will be a very hard decision for the government to authorize individuals to carry arms when ethnic and religious bigotry still triumphs, even amidst common enemies. Our reality is disastrous." Well, I guess King is apt with the fact that our reality is disastrous. I believe you were saying that you guys discussed this earlier. But I also do agree with Senator Shehu Sani, who said, you know, if this is what has to happen in Nigeria, we have to take up arms. I believe, you know, the contrary statement will be that, are we able to actually use arms? Are we actually able to protect ourselves with those arms? I don't know what your comments are, but I am American, as you know. One of the issues in America is the guns, the gun laws that, you know, that they're fighting at this point. I'm sorry, Nigeria is becoming I can't say a failed state, but I will take up arms. I will protect myself.
No. We discussed this earlier. I'm going to try. I hate repeating myself, but I have to at this point. It always reminds me of Hamlet, the to be or not to be soliloquy, when he says, taking up arms against the sea of troubles, and by opposing end them. He's talking about committing suicide, which I think is exactly what will happen if you have your average Joe blogs on the streets of Nigeria, like a lawyer, a doctor, what have you. If you all get an AK-47, you don't know how to use it. It's one thing to buy it, another thing to have the training. All you're going to do is enter into this sort of kamikaze mission, and it's going to be a complete bloodbath. And America, which you mentioned, you know, there's that theory in America that it takes just one good guy to stop a bad guy with a gun, and that's complete nonsense. Because you look at the gun violence, you can imagine in Nigeria the kind of road rage, those of us that live in Lagos, we have all kinds of incidents in traffic. If everybody has a gun, someone is just going to shoot the next person. So I understand the desperation, I understand the complete incandescent rage that people feel at the failures of the government, but I don't think we should go as far as advocating everybody bearing arms. For me, it's a recipe for disaster. If you don't have the training, you don't have the temperament, even in countries like America, they don't have enough mental health checks to go around. That's why you have people walking into schools. Remember Sandy Hook?
Yes.
Walking into a school and shooting babies. Yes. You have high school students walking into schools and shooting their classmates because they cannot process or properly channel their aggression. Somebody gets sacked from work, they walk into their former office and kill all their former colleagues. Yes, I mean, it will be completely bonkers in this country.
I agree with you, but also those are extreme situations or extreme cases.
No, not really.
It is true that they are. I mean, for me, I think because of the fact that we are so vulnerable at this point in our, nationhood. I don't know. I mean, I agree that there has to be training. I agree that there has to be, some sort of mental check, which we lack, obviously, here in Nigeria, because as we see, the NSAS movement was from, crazy police officers killing people. But I do support defending yourself.
Well, I have a different view, from you.
Yeah.
And the guest that we had on the program earlier on, Alhaji Batagarawa, who had been a Minister of State for Defense, said to put firearms in people's hands would be a prescription for anarchy.
Yeah.
And he couldn't have put it better. The enabling laws in the country, Firearms Act, 1959, reviewed 2004, Firearms Act 2004. And then, of course, in July 2021, you had one APC member from Ondo State, one Adejoro Adeogun, asking for 16 further amendments to the Firearms Act. And the whole idea of this, and then there was also police regulations in terms of access to firearms to address what? The challenge of insecurity in Nigeria. The problem of the proliferation of small and light arms, in Nigeria. Despite the fact that Nigeria is part of a regional West African body to check small arms proliferation. Customs, we have often said the customs department has been very negligent in checking the importation of arms. On a regular basis, caches of arms are discovered across the country. And that is linked to the crisis that we face security-wise. Now, to go ahead and recommend that every Nigerian should be allowed to have access to arms and ammunition, that would be a prescription for anarchy. In a country where, crime is on the upswing, in a country where some people say they even want to move out of the country, they want to succeed, they want to form their own republics, you go and give the same people access to firearms and ammunition. So that's why I think it's a prescription for chaos. What the lawmakers did yesterday was to move a motion of urgent national importance. And they debated it. And as I pointed out in a previous discussion, it became very emotional. So emotional that the House of Representatives even resolved that they were ready to shut down the chamber if that will force the president to pay more attention and to take more proactive steps to address insecurity in Nigeria. So it's an emotional issue for everybody, but I do not think that it's a suggestion that will pass. Alhassan Ado Doguwa, yes, he's from Kano, he's from the, and the discussion yesterday was about the terrible situation in Giwa local government area of Kaduna State. But it's not only Giwa local government that has issues, it's the entire country that is insecure. If you add access to arms and ammunition to the pressure cooker space in which we have found ourselves, you might as well wish Nigeria goodbye. And I know people that should not even have access to even ordinary knife. People who have, issues, ethnic, religious, you will go and further empower them. No responsible government will do that. Even in the US, gun control is a major issue.
As it should be.
That is what I said earlier, and that is a concrete argument as well.
So the Yorubas have a saying that the solution to a headache is not cutting the head off. And the solution to what is happening on ground, it is not by getting more arms. No. As it is today, Nigeria is over-militarized. There are too much arms in the first place. Do you know how much arms get through the customs that they don't check? Only yesterday, they saw American military-grade weapons. The customs intercepted that, and drones. So too much arms pouring about our borders. Nigeria is the heartland now for a lot of armed proliferation. We need to stop that. In fact, we need to remove the arms from the hands of people. Based on what is happening, we need to be proactive. Number one, we need to get more boots on the ground. It is grossly inadequate to have less than 300 soldiers, 1,000 soldiers, and 400,000 police officers for a country of over 200 million people. I don't know how we are going to do it. We need to increase and ramp up numbers. We need to bring about state police. Yes. Regions need to be run by police in that locality. We need to cut supply to bandits. You see, bandits don't shoot. You know how much a bullet costs? It's expensive, so they get money to buy those bullets. We need to cut financials to them. We need to stop the supply of this to them. How? We need to infiltrate their logistics system. And most importantly, ensure that people that provide money for that logistic don't get it. They don't get the money, they don't get cash. Most importantly, we need to solve the problem of poverty. Collectively, the problem of poverty has hampered this country over the years. As at 1983-84, a panel was set up by the government that looked into the reasons for the uprising with the Metiseni riots in the 80s. And guess what they found out? Massive poverty was a big problem. And guess what? In that 83, it was not that the Metiseni guys were using guns, they were using bow and arrow. But with just bow and arrows, you saw how much that riot raged on before it was quelled. And now, since that 83, we've not done anything about poverty. In 83, the unemployment rate in this country was less than 12%. Now it is 33%. All of this also, we need to tackle unemployment, we need to tackle poverty head on. Right. And most importantly, the government needs to stand tall here. Nigerians are losing too much belief. And I think that's what politicians in 2023 should be thinking about.
All right. We'll take another story. The Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo Olu has reiterated his commitment to providing adequate and secure transportation in the state. While speaking during an event to mark the 15th anniversary of Africa Finance Corporation on Thursday, the governor gave his assurance in the wake of the Abuja-Kaduna rail track attack that all modes of transportation in Lagos State will be furnished with security cameras.
We had an ugly incident about a month ago where a lady got kidnapped or something. There was a fatality on our BRT route. You know, it's important for me to reiterate now. We've got about 850 high-capacity BRT buses, right? Of that amount, only about 100 of that were purchased locally. And unfortunately, that's the only 100 that do not have inbuilt CCTV cameras, right? And the incident that I'm talking about happened in one of that 100, which is the ones that we're trying to, you know, encourage local manufacturers, you know, and wanted to fleet, you know, from them. But we've learned our lessons, you know, to ensure that in all of our public, you know, transportation system, we have, you know, CCTV camera that is, you know, off-site, and we can indeed see what is happening all around. But on the waterways infrastructure that I mentioned, we're actually building a command and control center. We're actually building a proper command and control center for all of the ferry services to ensure that all of our passengers are safe in terms of, you know, water infrastructure, water transportation, but also safe as passenger to passenger, you know, on the waterway. For the rail, part of the things that we will be ensuring that it's available and all of the train stations, right, there must be, you know, very robust, you know, cameras, you know, that are activated, that we can monitor, and we can indeed, you know, have an idea of, you know, what are the caliber of people that are going in. We just launched a 1,000 taxi scheme, you know, just last week. And I want to also say that in all of the individual taxis, there's a 360 camera inside of each, so that once people know that there's somebody that can monitor, you know, and ask the very difficult questions, some of these things will be things of the past.
Well, I thought this was beautiful for the government to reiterate, you know, the safety measures that have been put in place for Lagos transport. You know, we're Lagosians. I do kind of feel safe. But a lot of people are saying, is that enough? Is that the way to go? Is it just by, you know, putting in security cameras? He mentioned that issue of Bamishe, the young girl who died in that BRT bus. And, you know, unfortunately, there was no security camera in that bus. And so it was hard to identify the culprit. But I believe Minister Amechi also had an issue 2 days ago when he talked about the fact that he tried to get FEC to approve some sort of funding for security camera in the train, the Abuja-Kaduna train, and it was declined. I thought it was also important that he raised that for the public to know that this is the issue that we're having in Nigeria. We need to be more conscious of, you know, security in our transport system, in our transportation system. Tundu Abiola.
Yes, I thought that was a really great question that Leila asked, because when this tragedy happened with the terrorist attack on the train, my mind did go to Lagos and that red rail line. And we remember how excited we all were when the governor of Lagos went to Milwaukee and got those trains. I remember thinking, well, they better have some kind of surveillance system on it. So it's actually really reassuring that he's addressed that. It's reassuring that so much thought has been put into it. Because now it is important. Like I was saying the other day, nobody can now say they're going to proudly launch any kind of rail project without telling us what the security situation is, what has been provided. For me, it's as absurd now, in view of what has happened, as launching a rail project with carriages that don't have seats. It's really fundamental. You must have the proper surveillance. So that has to be done going forward. Those people that died must not have died in vain. There are Nigerians today that cannot be accounted for. Heaven knows where they are. They've been bundled off in buses by complete lunatics. This kind of incident must never repeat itself, and everything has to be done to ensure that.
Okay, quickly. It shouldn't be surprising that Governor Sanwo Olu of Lagos State is talking about transportation infrastructure. When he was campaigning to come into government, he said he had what he called a themes agenda, THEMES. A 6-program, you know, platform with which he wanted to engage Nigerians, Lagosians, and to create what he called a Greater Lagos project. And transportation was at the top of that, you know, ladder. Transportation and traffic management, he called it. And that was why when he assumed office, one of the first things he did was to launch a multimodal transportation network program. He started with LASMA. He tried to upgrade LASMA, increase the salaries of the officials, assured some kind of reorientation. And it is regard to LASMA operations that one of the cameras he talked about, you know, is part of it. Because they said, they claimed they installed cameras at certain traffic locations. Now, those cameras, I don't think they work. I think LASMA officials have been misbehaving thoroughly. And I think in that regard, LASMA in particular constitutes a problem to the governor's agenda. Only earlier this week, one LASMA official was dismissed because he engaged in physical violence.
Yes, I saw that
with a particular person. And with that camera, the operation of that particular camera that they say are on various spots around Lagos, the operationalization has been very dubious. That is one. Two, he talked about railways. Yes, Lagosians rather. Well, if I keep calling Lagosians Nigerians, it's the same. They're looking forward to the completion of the red line and the blue line. And if that comes on stream, that will help. Third, the governor referred to the taxi scheme, where I thought that was a bit suspicious. Already there's more than enough congestion on the streets of Lagos. And then you bought additional thousands of taxis. Yes, those taxis will be, they will have cameras installed, there will be controls, but who is going to sustain that? And who is behind this? And what are the steps to control congestion in Lagos? Fourth, they've been talking about the Fourth Mainland Bridge. How far have they gone with the Fourth Mainland Bridge? Because even coming from the mainland to the island remains a source of nightmare. So it's not enough to just talk about this. The people of Lagos will have something to point to when they see specific deliveries.
Fantastic. Rufai.
So in 15 seconds, what does Lagos need? Lagos is a mega city, as they say. City of over 22 million people. It needs to be mega in its ideas. Thank you.
Mega. I think it's great that they have put in all those measures, Rufai. I'm very excited about it.
But I don't think it's mega enough in its ideas.
Okay.
It needs to be mega enough. Lagos needs a new set of thinking.
Well, all right. Thank you all for your beautiful analysis. What are we doing this weekend? Quickly.
We have to go.
All right.
We're not announcing any plans on television.
Okay, no worries. Well, that's all I have for you on What's Trending today. I'll see you next week.